So today we're going to have a practice that has some nice back bending and hip flexor stretching and some really fun postures in it. We'll begin on our back today, just taking a few deep breaths and then starting to move right away into some rolling bridges. So press into your hands and your feet and begin to roll up and down with your own breath rhythm. Feeling the strength in your legs, feeling your heels and the balls of your feet connected to the earth, and maybe even starting to add some reaches of the arms up and overhead once you feel ready. Starting to integrate the shoulders into this flowing warm-up. You might inhale as you roll your body up and exhale as you roll back down. When you've had enough of those, gather your knees into your chest. And then we're going to start to alternate one knee in at a time. Switch sides. We'll take a full deep breath. And then we'll start to flow these single leg stretches, one knee at a time, one breath at a time, inhaling as one knee comes in and exhaling as the other leg draws in towards your chest. Find your own breath rhythm here. You can move this a little faster or a little slower according to your preference. And at any point, if you'd like to start to increase your core work a little bit, feel free to curl your upper body up and look down towards your knees. We'll do a few more of these. And then we're going to challenge the core even more by coming into a half boat pose, Ardha Navasana. The lower you bring your legs for this posture, the more challenging it will be. So customize your depth, and when you're finished, draw your knees back into your chest. From here, we'll roll down to one side and come all the way up to seated. Take a few breaths to get settled. And then move into your tabletop or your all fours position. We're going to move through Chakravakasana, cat-cow, rounding your back when you're ready, and then lengthening your spine, lifting the heart. Spinal flexion and spinal extension, back bend. You might inhale as you lift up into cow and exhale as you round into cat. Or you can try flipping the breath and doing it the opposite way. See how it feels. The important thing is to get some movement in your spine. And then we'll come back to a neutral spine and sit back to our first child's pose of this practice. We're going to start to move through a few kneeling vinyasas. So when you're ready, shift to a kneeling plank and then lower down to the ground. Take a lift up into cobra and then release. And press back right from where you came, all the way back to child's. We'll do that a few more times, shifting forward, lowering down with the elbows stacked over the wrists, and maybe even taking a little extra time in Bhujangasana, Cobra, just to warm up the back. Starting to get ready for some deeper back bends that will come later in the practice. Lower down and press back to Child's. And we'll do that one more time, shifting forward, hovering down, lifting up for a few breaths in Cobra. And then releasing the forehead all the way to the ground before pressing back to Child's. We're going to get ready to transition into downward facing dog. So tuck your toes, spread your fingers, and pull back when you're ready. Noticing how this first downward dog feels. We're now going to make our way to the top of the mat, so step forward 1 foot at a time. Take a little moment in your halfway lift when you arrive, then sink down into your forward bend. From here, we'll circle sweep all the way up to extended mountain, and then bring our hands to Anjali Mudra, or the center of the chest. Feeling anchored and rooted, we've made our way up to standing. We're going to start into a little chair flow. As you reach up, take a little tip back. And as you lower down, bring your hands back to the front of your chest. Reach back and sit low. Inhale and exhale. Keep flowing once again right at your own breath rhythm. Move a little faster if you want to invigorate and energize your practice, and slow it down if you want to build endurance and strength. Eventually, make your way back to mountain pose and take a breath. We're now going to turn towards the long edge of the mat and externally rotate the hips. Your toes will be turned out, and we're going to go into some wide-legged flowing squats here. So we'll inhale to reach up and exhale to sit down in an imaginary low stool. Make sure that your knees track right over your ankles each time that you sit down. Maybe start to add a little bit of a chest expansion here. Keeping the abdominals engaged to protect the lower back, and bringing the arms into a goalpost position as you tip back and look at the sky or the ceiling up above you. If you'd like, you can add a mudra here. One of my favorite mudras is Padma Mudra, the Lotus Mudra, and we can sweep the hands up and then circle sweep the arms down. Bring the thumbs and the little fingers together and just create a sort of cup or a flower with your hands and press all the way up. Keep going. Warming up the legs and the shoulders. And eventually we'll bring the hands back to the center and step forward to the top of your mat once again. Feel free to take some shoulder rolls here or any other natural movement that feels good. And then we'll take a little pause in a standing camel. Your fists will be right at your sacrum, offering a little support. The heart is lifted. Engage the belly to curl yourself back from camel pose and return to mountain. We're going to prepare for some sun salutations here. So get really grounded, settled into your feet, and when you're ready, circle sweep your arms up and hinge right on down into your forward fold. Take a little lift forward and step back with one foot and then the other, making your way to plank. For this first round, we'll go from the knees, hovering down through Chaturanga Dandasana and lifting up. Press back to downward facing dog and take a breath. We'll lead with the right foot all the way through, stepping it forward and following with the left into a halfway lift, and then take your bow. Press into your feet, soften your knees, and rise up through mountain into a gentle back bend, and then return right to where you began, Tadasana, mountain pose. Check in, take a breath, get ready for the other side. Forward fold. We'll lead with the left leg this time, stepping back to lunge, and then to plank. Shifting forward, drop your knees to the ground, hover, and then lift up into your upward facing dog and pull back to downward facing dog. Take a breath. We'll step the left foot forward to lunge, follow with the right, taking that half lift and then sinking down into your fold. Reach all the way up, taking a back bend here and returning to mountain. Inhale to reach back, exhale to forward bend. Take a lift and step back with the right foot. Follow with the left, finding strength and stability in plank and shifting through your vinyasa, moving with your breath. Perhaps you take a little extra pause in upward facing dog to keep working on those spinal extension back bends. From downward facing dog, step the right foot forward into your lunge. And this time we're going to drop the back knee to the ground and add a single breath lift and lower, bringing the hands back to the earth and stepping forward. Taking your bow and then circle sweeping up. Taking a lifted back bend and then returning, completing that side, coming back to mountain. We'll do the same thing, leading with the left leg. Reach back, forward fold, and step back to your plank. Shift through your vinyasa, coming down to hover, lifting up to upward facing dog, and pulling all the way back down to downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Take a breath here, and then step forward with the left leg. Drop the back knee to the ground and inhale to reach back. Low lunge. Bring the hands back to the floor and step forward into your half lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Sink down, Uttanasana, forward bend, and press all the way back, taking your back bend and returning to mountain, Tadasana. Once again, we'll reach back and come down to forward fold. We'll step back and flow through a vinyasa. taking a little extra time in upward facing dog, and then pulling with core strength back to downward facing dog. Perhaps as a little extra challenge, you take a few springs, bending the knees, and then float forward to the front of your mat. Release into your forward bend, and then rise up, reaching back and returning to mountain. We'll go through one more time, leading with the left leg, reaching back, forward bend, Uttanasana, half lift, Ardha Uttanasana, and step back, shifting forward, Chaturanga Dandasana, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, upward dog, pausing here. Pull back, Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward dog. Take a few bends of the knees, fire up the legs, and hop forward. Ardha Uttanasana, half lift, Uttanasana, full bend. Press down to rise up, taking a back bend, and completing that round of Surya Namaskar, sun salutations in mountain. Hopefully you're feeling warm and ready for some warrior postures. We'll keep the right foot forward and step back to warrior one, Virabhadrasana Eka. Make sure that your back foot is grounded and steady. And then open up to warrior two, Virabhadrasana Dvi. We'll bring the hands right to heart center and then take that exact same position right behind your back. So reverse prayer hands, reverse Anjali Mudra. From here, try tipping down towards your front thigh, just like you would in a side angle, but completely internally supported. And if you're feeling good and want to deepen this a little bit, try your full bound angle, reaching your bottom arm right behind your knee and clasping the hands behind the back. When you're ready, release back to your warrior two, and we'll flow right out of this, taking the back arm up and over, settling in lunge, and stepping back to downward facing dog. We'll take a vinyasa to keep the flow going, and make our way back to downward facing dog. We're going to get ready to come to the front of the mat. So look forward and walk or step or float forward, taking a halfway lift and a forward fold. Then pressing all the way up to extended mountain and returning to Tadasana, mountain pose. We're getting ready for that warrior sequence on the other side. So this time keep your left foot forward and step back to warrior one. Bend your front knee deeply, stacking your knee right over your ankle. And then open up to warrior two. We'll bring the hands together and then transition them to that reverse Anjali Mudra, bringing them right up between your shoulder blades, keeping your warrior two deep and steady. You might try that little tip forward, feeling strong and stable in your front leg. If that bound angle felt a little bit too deep when you reached between your legs, you can bind on top. So either one is fine. Try both. They have different sensations. Eventually, we'll make our way back to Warrior Two and spiral all the way down to our lunge. Step back to Downward Facing Dog and take a vinyasa. Once again, we're going to make our way back to the top of the mat. So get there however you like, take a half lift and forward bend. Hinge up from your hips, reaching skyward, and bring the hands back to the front of your chest. We're going to prepare for a couple rounds of Natarajasana, dancer posture. So stand on your left foot and grab your right ankle or the top of your foot. Take a little hinge forward, reach forward, and kick strong into your hand. Just a quick little visit that way because we're going to get a longer opportunity in a moment. Switch sides. Hinge forward. And then release. Now, if you want to try this with a totally different shoulder orientation, grab a strap with a loop at the end and place that strap either over your foot or around your ankle. You'll now reach back. If the strap is around your right ankle, you'll be holding the strap in your right hand. And notice now that the shoulders are in flexion, or your arms are reaching up overhead, rather than internally rotating and grabbing your foot. So it's a totally different experience of this posture. When you feel ready to release, come on out and remove the strap from that foot. Loop it around the other. Of course, it's possible that you might not need to use a strap for this, and you can actually back bend deeply if your shoulders are really open and grab your foot. But most of us will need a strap. When you're finished, release from dancer. And we won't need that strap anymore for now. So you can get rid of that and make your way back to mountain, adding a little chest expansion here. Maybe your palms are apart, or maybe you can press the heels of the hands together. When you're ready, come down into a forward fold, broadening across the chest, but allowing the shoulders to stay away from the ears rather than dropping down with gravity. When you've had enough of the chest expansion, just let your hands drift down to the ground and make your way back to Downward Facing Dog. We're going to lift up one leg and open up the hip, getting ready for a really fun posture, Wild Thing. Step that foot that you've lifted up and over the body and reach back. So that leg that you've stepped over is bent while the opposite leg remains really straight. When you've had enough time, just roll right back over, give a nice big lift of the leg, and return to downward facing dog. We'll get ready to do the same thing on the other side. So lift your opposite leg and bend your knee. You can even look underneath your arm and see if you can see your foot. Just guide it on over to the ground and lift the hips and pelvis. Lift the heart and reach back, staying really strong and stable on your base hand and shoulder. Take a few breaths here and then revolve back to downward facing dog, maybe even keeping that leg that was lifted up for a three-legged dog. We're going to take a little break in child's posture, so release your knees to the ground when you're ready and allow the tailbone to rest down towards the heels. From here, transfer into all fours, tabletop position. We're going to do a little tiger flow here, beginning just like you would in a spinal balance, and then adding a little twist. So, reach your opposite arm and opposite leg out, and then bend your back knee and twist to tap your ankle. So if you're reaching your right arm forward, then your left leg goes out, then bend your knee and twist back to tap your foot. Spinal balance, twist, reach everything back out, and release. You can pause and hold a little bit longer. You could even drop down onto your forearm and deepen into this tiger pose a little bit longer. Eventually, bring the hands back to the earth, return to tabletop, and we'll do that one more time on the other side. Reaching back, kicking strong into your hand just like you did in Dancer. Of course, you can bring your forearm down, parallel to the front of your mat. That will give you more stability. And kick up into your hand. When you're ready, make your way back to tabletop and then drift on back to your child's pose, Balasana. We're going to make our way down to our bellies. So shift forward and hover all the way down. Then take a little upper body Shalabhasana, locust posture. And when you're ready, deepen in a little bit more, lifting up the upper and the lower body, maybe even clasping your hands behind your back. Take a few breaths here and then relax, bringing one cheek down to the ground and settling. You might choose to do that same exact posture on the other side. Repeat it, or you can come up into bow posture, grabbing the tops of your feet or your ankles, lifting up, holding for a few breaths as you look ahead, and then release down, turning your cheek to the other side. It might feel good to take some windshield wipers here, swishing the ankles from side to side. Eventually, let your feet rest down, bring your hands under your shoulders, and press back to child's. We'll tuck the toes from here and pull back to downward facing dog. Guide your right leg up into the air into a three-legged dog, And then bend your knee and shift forward into pigeon pose. We're going to do a back bending version of this posture today. So you might want to reach for that strap again. One option is just to reach back and grab your back ankle with an internally rotated shoulder. Just like in Dancer, we had 2 different shoulder orientations we could explore here. The other option is to take your shoulder up into flexion and hold the strap with one or even with both hands. Taking a back bend, a long spine, looking ahead or slightly upward, and remembering to continue to breathe. Once you've had enough of that lifted version, come on down onto stacked fists or stacked hands, releasing and relaxing your back. When you're ready, bring your hands back under your shoulders and make your way back to downward facing dog. We'll get ready to do the same thing on the opposite side, lifting the left leg up and guiding it forward into Eka Pada Kapotasana, one-legged pigeon. Again, option 1, you can reach back and grab the top of your foot. Or you can reach up and back towards the top of your foot, perhaps using that strap for a little assistance. Continue to breathe. When you're ready, release back down. When you've had enough time in pigeon, make your way back to downward facing dog. And take that forward folded option here. You don't want to miss that. It feels great to settle and release the back after taking such a big spinal extension back bend. Now make your way back to downward facing dog. And we'll get ready to transition to a seated position. We'll come down to the knees or to a seated position. And we're going to get ready for a nice stable dolphin posture, which is a great prep for headstand. So, to find your shoulder distance apart, grab your biceps and then interlace your hands, making sure that your pinky finger is tucked in. You want a nice flat surface of your arms on the ground. Then start to walk your toes towards your face. This will bring you pretty much into headstand position. Let the crown of your head just tap the ground ever so lightly with very little pressure. We're not going to go into headstand today, but you could try tucking one foot in towards your bum, bending your knee, and really feeling your abdominals and your shoulder girdle preparing for the headstands that we'll be visiting in future practices. Take as much time in dolphin as you'd like, and then come to rest in child's posture. We'll come up again and grab the biceps to locate that shoulder distance apart. But this time we'll place the arms parallel to each other. We're going to do a little training here for Pincha Mayurasana, forearm balances. Just stabilize your support, and if you'd like to add challenge, lift one leg up at a time. Feeling your weight shift forward, maybe even coming up onto your tiptoes on the foot that's still on the ground. After enough practice like this, you might feel that your body really wants to float all the way up into a forearm balance. But I'll save that for a future practice. Rest in child's pose when you feel complete. And then we're going to take hare posture, or rabbit pose, grabbing the bottoms of your feet, tucking your toes, and rounding your back into full spinal flexion. So it's like a cat stretch, only even deeper. When you're finished, rest in child's pose, perhaps choosing the option where your arms rest along your sides, which is pretty much like a really gentle hare pose. Once you've taken a few breaths there, make your way up to a seated position. Hold on behind one knee and guide your body down onto your back. Take a few rocks from side to side in Apanasana, knees to chest. And then tip both knees over to one side for a spinal twist. You might look up at the ceiling or look away from your bent knees to deepen the twist. Just stay here and breathe. And then make your way back to the center, shifting the hips and tipping the knees, the legs over into the opposite direction. Allow your breaths to be long and soothing. Coming down the home stretch of our practice, beginning to unwind. When you're finished, make your way back to center and take a few swishes of your knees from side to side. When you're ready, come into a comfortable, relaxed position for a time of relaxation, Shavasana. Use this time to integrate your practice and to give your body and mind some rest and recovery. You could take 5 or 10 minutes or more to really receive the full benefits. So please feel free to stop this recording and take as much time as you need. When you do feel complete, gather your knees into your chest. Take a little rock from side to side. And then gently transition over to a side lying resting pose. Place your top hand on the earth for support. And when you feel ready, come all the way up to a comfortable seated position. Taking a moment to feel the effects of your practice, to breathe deeply and fully. I hope you have a beautiful day or a restful evening. Thank you for practicing with me. Namaste.